Hello and welcome to Walk the Pod, your daily walking show where I take my podcast for a walk because I don't have a dog. Welcome along to our final episode of series 44 on constancy, episode 10, where we will be considering what we've learned so far as I walk around the park behind the hospital on my lunch break. It's a very unusual concept, a lunch break. Nobody really takes them anymore, but I would highly encourage you to. If you work in an office 9 to 5, take an hour at lunch and walk around and have a meal away from your keyboard. Do not engage in this concept of eating al desco. Get out there under the sky, into the slight breeze, feel a little bit of sunshine on your face and listen to some birdsong. If you're in the UK, of course, your weather may vary depending on where you are in the world and what season you're approaching right now. This has been a wonderful series to record to really investigate constancy and what it means. And today I want to talk a bit about what we've learned and also introduce the idea that constancy might provide ways to do things which seem extraordinary, because so much of the usual running of life is taken care of by just turning up and doing the same things over and over again. What we've learned so far, I think, is that constancy is very different from grind. It does not say you have to just get on with it and keep your head down and stop whinging. It says try and do everything that you do with love. Stop on every task before you entirely run out of juice for it. If you can see the route ahead with your creative writing or your gardening or your painting, if you can suddenly see this is what I'm going to do next, time to stop for the day, put it on pause, because you've definitely got inspiration to continue the following day, and you can come back to it with all your energy and all your love. And by doing so, find that you create projects which are full of joy. That's for the creative types. But equally, I think it applies just as much to our day jobs. If we can think to ourselves, I haven't entirely burned absolutely everything that I've got today. I'm going to come back tomorrow and look at it again. We can have a much better day at work tomorrow than if we just keep grinding on and end up with some form of burnout, as discussed in previous series. So, what is it then if it isn't grinding out a miserable existence day after day? Well, it is just simply deciding that we're going to commit to certain things, continue to come back to those things day after day, recommit to the things and the people that we love, rather than thinking, this is difficult, I'm going to move on to a new person or a new workplace or a new friendship group. To think, this is difficult and I'm going to go through it in order to come to a better place in the end. The relationships that I've stuck with, even when they've been difficult, have often resolved into better relationships as a result. And keeping turning up with love, openness and understanding, and the emotional intelligence to try to work out what it is that's causing the relationship to be difficult is, well, it's a tough challenge, but it's rewarding. So I would encourage everybody to think about that. I'm not telling you how to live your life, dear friends. It's difficult being alive. I'm not saying I know how to do it. I'm just saying I think this is what I've worked out so far. As always, Walk the Pod is about what I've worked out so far. And also 10 minutes to take away from all of the day-to-day business at work in order to think about something completely different. And thinking about constancy has been wonderful. So my final thought on constancy today is that by doing the same things over and over again, we give ourselves back an enormous amount of what the kids call bandwidth, an enormous amount of headspace to think about other things, because we actually don't have to work out what to wear today or what to eat or where to go to work or who we're going to see in the evening, because we've set up constant routines and habits and people that we're going to commit and recommit to. And then we have all this space to think about other things like creative stuff or how to do our jobs in a more integrity-based way, as opposed to just flailing around chaotically from one meeting to the other, which is more or less how I feel at the moment. But I'm working on it. Dear friends, I am working on it. And there are busy times where life whips you up and takes you off and there's nothing much you can do about it. But if you return as soon as the busy times are over to your constant routines and habits, it can pay dividends. And I think you're probably fairly on board with this already. I don't think I need to labour the point any further. Thank you so much for your contributions on Constancy this series. I wonder what we'll talk about next. Members of the Walk the Pod Lunchtime Walk Club are kind enough to support the show financially, keep me in podcast hosting platforms and coffee and pints and shoelaces, and other essential things for walking. And they will be sent a little poll next week to say, what should we talk about next? It is up to them to decide. I no longer even give Instagram a vote because social media can get in a bin. But I want to thank them, first of all, from the bottom of my heart, the Walk the Pod Lunchtime Walk Club, Nige in northern Spain, Rob in New Zealand, Marcel in the Netherlands, and in the UK, Catherine in Ealing, Nick in Worcester, Jim in Manchester, Hannah, Sam and Katie in southwest London, Helen in Crystal Palace, John in Muswell Hill, Mum in Malvern, Laura on the Bedsbucks border, Hilary from Trundle, and everyone at Trundle doing great work for walkers, and Rear Admiral Tim in the People's Republic of Croydon. And thank you to everyone on the quiet tier. There are people on the quiet tier who don't get named, but they support, and I hugely appreciate that. And anyone who supports via Substack, supporting my newsletter, is also a member of the Walk the Pod Lunchtime Walk Club. I will incorporate your names eventually into this list, but for now, just let me say thank you collectively to everyone who supports the newsletter on Substack. And if you'd like to join the Walk the Pod Lunchtime Walk Club or follow my newsletter on Substack, you can do so via walkthepod.com. What can I see directly in front of me? Well, it is the most beautiful day in the world. This day really does feel like we've finally landed in something approaching proper spring in the UK. The lichen on the plane trees in front of me is bright green and shining in the sunshine. There are little fluffy clouds in the sky. It's beautiful, honestly. Half a dozen trees scattered around on the park today. No tots or pups that I can see. And there's still some kind of roadworks happening to restore the path here. So potentially the park doesn't look very inviting today to casual passers-by. But of course the constant walkers who come back to the park every lunchtime, and there's me and there's a professor from the university who do the lunchtime walk every day without fail, him smoking and me podcasting. To anybody else apart from Professor, I'm not going to name him, but the professor and I, the park probably doesn't look very inviting today, so that might be why nobody's really here. But it's glorious. The grass is looking absolutely splendid, having been rained on thoroughly over the last week. And round the trees over this side of things, there's a lot of churned up mud where they've been doing whatever it is that they're doing. Pretty sure there's a signpost just over here which says the footpath is closed, so I shouldn't even be walking next to this lorry. But to be fair, they're not doing very much right at this moment. I'm just going to sneak past and hope I get away with it. Dear friends, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for walking with me this season. This has been the biggest challenge to constancy, this series of Walk the Pod. I've had to move the whole platform over from Spotify for podcasters over to Podbean. I've had to ditch the music because Podbean's music just isn't up to it, quite frankly. But very excitingly, Lawrence Owen is composing me my own music today, which I'll be able to bring you from the beginning of the very next series. I'm so excited about that. And I'll be able to say then at the end of series 45, music was by Lawrence Owen. I can't say that this series, but I can say, and our beautiful Walk the Pod artwork is by Tristan Mitchell of the Bigfoot Studio in Cornwall. Take care of your beautiful mind, yourselves and each other. Try to find a glimmer of joy in this imperfect day. drop me a note to say what it was, walkthepod@gmail.com, and I cannot wait to bring you series 45 in a couple of weeks.